Before we dive into this video, we just want to give a strong spoiler alert for Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 33, Blood and Dust. And this is why.
Orem, please describe to me in your final moment as Orem looks up, barely holding his vision forward, and Otohan pulls the blade up and is about to press it down into his sternum. Fern, in the final moments, consciousness and life on this realm, as she's falling back in the air from that second strike, she immediately takes the second blade and jams it up through her back, which pierces out of the sternum. And while holding her still aloft, kind of a reverse Sephiroth situation, Laudna held in the air, just looks over at you. It's your turn.
That was a lot. If you're like us, you're watching that combat or watching those moments and saying to yourself, what went wrong? That prompted us to create this new series where we watch a combat and we watch something from a show and we say, what went wrong and what could we do to change the tide of this combat? You've seen us talk about combats and tactics and making the most out of your actions and multiple different video series. So we're really just going to dig into it and see an example here and do that. We understand, looking back at this combat and just going into it heavily in tactics, that hindsight is natural 20. So it's going to be completely different for us going back and watching this. And we also understand that there's a lot more that goes into making a decision than just tactics. That being said, we're looking at this from a tactical point of view, seeing what went wrong and how we could fix it.
So before we jump right into the fight, let's set a little bit of context. Right here, we're going to be watching this group of 7 people that are level 7 go up against one legendary combatant. This combatant has some personal history with Laura's character, Imogen, and Liam's character, Orem. So there is definitely an element of intimidation, a definite presence that this character has. And I think if you watch the episode, it's very apparent right away that they are scared. They're also trying to escape this woman's base where she's like some kind of like warlord figure. And they are already not on maximum resources, particularly their cleric, Fresh Cut Grass, played by Sam.
Before initiative even begins, there's a good amount going on. It seems like we have our player characters kind of on either side of this legendary monster. And it seems to have some sort of like Echo Knight feature because it creates 3 echoes. And Laura uses her character to use some like reskinned version of Hunger of Hadar and destroys all 3 of the echoes. So they're having this kind of conversation as this is going on. And sometimes that gets weird for combat things and initiative. But we'll circle back to that. She's like, I think 6 seconds have passed, so like you gotta have to make another save or you're gonna take some damage. Makes another save, ends up burning a legendary resistance to avoid being restrained, and then resummons her echoes before combat like actually begins. It's pretty clear, like right off the bat, this creature is pretty powerful, and they're all very intimidated. It's very clear that they're like, I don't think we could win this fight, and they kind of want to run away. Yeah. At this point, initiative begins. We have Matt winning initiative with Otohan, or I'm going to try to pronounce all these names. Liam is in second with Orem, Taliesin in third with Ashton. We have Chetney, which is Travis, right after that. Imogen, which is Laura. Fern, which is Ashley. Laudna, who is Marisha, and then Fresh Cut Grass, who is Sam. And please don't be upset if I refer to them as their actual names because it's
Josh
just
is less of a critter than I am. That's what it is. But if you think about it, that's actually not a bad start. You are fighting a legendary creature, and you got through one of those legendary resistances.
Yeah, at no cost.
That's actually pretty good, and a little damage, nothing crazy. Not off to the worst start.
Why don't you take us through round 1, and then we'll really talk about, I guess, some of the big moments right off the bat. And that is something with this fight. It starts to go south almost immediately, and you'll see that. We'll talk about it.
Round 1, fight. Otohan opens things up by attacking Ashton.
And is going to go ahead and unleash 3 weapon attacks and then an offhand strike against you. That is 28 to hit.
Oh yeah, that hits.
Second attack is a 18 to hit.
Yep. I may have taken an extra 10 points. I didn't mean to. I should.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Take it off.
Yeah, confident enough.
That's fine. The third hit is going to be a 19.
Oh yeah, that hits.
the Echo Strikes as well for, that's going to be a 20 to hit
Yeah.
for 14 points of slashing
I'm
damage.
down.
Oh, God.
Wait, what?
I'm down.
Ashton's down.
He's more than 30 feet. away from me,
Barbarian's
isn't he?
down. Not raging.
That's about as intimidating as it gets right off the bat. Next up is Orem, who gives Ashton a healing potion, and we learned that a 19 to hit misses.
So that is a 19 to hit.
19 to hit, misses.
Misses.
Yes.
He does his follow-up attack, which hits, but she saves against being pushed. I think he was trying to push her back into the storm that Imogen created. That also burned Orem's action surge in the process. Next up is Ashton, who uses the disengage action and then backs up to hide and then decides to rage. Following Ashton, Otohan uses a legendary action to attack Imogen and knocks her prone. After that, Chetney goes, who does his werewolf thing, which is pretty similar to like a barbarian rage and how it affects. He does a little more damage, takes some damage resistance kinds of things, and uses a feature from his Blood Hunter class, Blood Curse of Bloated Agony, which does disadvantage on strength and dexterity checks, and then Otohan will take damage if she makes more than one attack on her turn. We already know that she's a fighter, so this is a big deal. After Chetney, Otohan uses a legendary action to dash and gets into melee range with Fern. Imogen goes next. The group begins to talk about scattering and running away, and the thinking here is that Otohan can only go after one of them rather than kill the whole group.
We got a hard choice to make. We're going to fight and die, or we're going to run. We run, we got to scatter.
We gotta scatter.
If we're gonna just incapacitate her,
car
for a
just
hot
blew up.
If we
second,
scatter, she's going to get to pick who she
who
goes
she
after.
goes to.
In the middle of this, prone Imogen uses Misty Step to get to an elevated balcony on just a nearby building, and then runs farther into the building. No action used. Brutal. Otohan then uses a legendary action to attack Fern, and everyone seems pretty committed to running again at this point. Fern goes next, casts Hold Person on Otohan, and actually burns another legendary resistance, which is pretty big. And then she uses her wildfire spirit named Mister to fiery teleport out of Otohan's reach, and then also starts to run away. Law does up next, uses Ray of Frost, and misses with an 18. She uses her Form of Dread feature and then runs away up a ladder. Fresh Cut Grass uses a bonus action to give some temporary hit points to Laudna, but then Fresh Cut Grass decides to run away using his movement and his action to dash. So yeah, that's a 7-player combat with a legendary creature, so we've got a lot to analyze here, Josh, but what stands out to you here?
So right off the bat, with Ashton being the barbarian, when you have pre-initiative, like some people using their abilities, some people like you're kind of in combat, you're kind of not in combat. This is kind of going to be different group to group. But I would be shocked in a group, led by Matt and how they play their game, and us too. I think we would handle it the way I'm about to say, which is if you have a barbarian and your main thing is to rage, when people are like half in combat, half out of combat, I think it's totally fair to say, hey, I would really like to rage as soon as this actually begins. I know the rules are kind of wonky, so I'll lose it if I just do it immediately. I think most people are going to be okay with that because it's not a surprise combat. You knew where it was going. I think it's fair to say, yeah, you already used your bonus action once your turn starts.
It was the last strike that dropped him, so at the very least, he still would have been there. There is a little bit of, we'll say rotten luck, but I think you bring up a great point. State your case. Worst thing that happens, Dungeon Master says no.
Absolutely. And a good dungeon master is not going to be upset at you asking. Not even necessarily a good one that's just not a jerk won't be upset. You're totally right that it would have completely changed the rest of the combat because we have Orem using his action surge immediately on the second turn to give a healing potion and also try to attack. I mean, learning that a 19 misses is big. It's a 20 AC.
Yeah.
It's definitely scary.
19 missed. Oh,
especially because immediately after she just dropped our tank, and now we know that she can not only do damage, but also it's 20 AC. That's big.
And if you're just going off some quick raw math, we're level 7, proficiency bonus is +3, people with a +4 to their ability modifier, that's a +7. You're going to hit less than 50% of the time, assuming, which we learn later, but assuming that the AC is a 20. At this point is best case scenario. So yeah, that's where that's going to grab your attention.
I think the other big thing here, and this is what we mean when we say like the beginning, it really got out of hand quick. You have your barbarian, they go down, they get get back up, and then disengage and run back to hide to rage. I understand the, wanting to kind of like run from the, like maybe I could try to get some more health or something like that. But you're the tank. They just saved you. Tank, do your thing. Let that combat continue. Use your movement to stand up, try to attack. That's your moment to get that strong start instead of splitting the party so quickly.
You just see disorganization here because the thought is we're going to run away. That seems to be discussed heavily. Once some of their friends go down, they're like, well, we got to make sure they can run too. And so they have a half-assed plan that gets executed very poorly. The two characters I think that made the most sound decisions, I think, is Travis playing Chetney, doing his werewolf thing, which is, like we said, kind of like the barbarian rage, and then recognizes immediately that she makes multiple attacks and does something that's going to damage her for doing that. It's automatic. That is great.
That's a strong play.
Very
really
strong play.
In the first round, too. That's huge.
And then the other person that stood out to me as making good choices and making a real, I shouldn't say good choices, but good choices followed by some good results is Fern, played by Ashley, casting Hold Person and burning another legendary resistance. This legendary creature has now burned 2, and the first round isn't even over yet. That's huge. That is an opportunity that they should have just pounced on. And we don't hear about this for quite some time.
It's rough, but it's also a strong start. And I think that it's something that they could have come back from had they not chose to run away and split the party.
Yeah.
Because Jake, how often is it a good idea to split the party? Is it a meme for a reason?
It is a meme for a reason. It is. We were talking about this a little pre-video. You were saying you'd also never split into 7 one-person parties. Maybe 2. I don't know. You give yourself the better of 2 chances, Slim and none.
I'm very slim and none. That's good. That's funny. I'm very pro running away and getting into combats that you can't win and recognizing that, but setting yourself up for success and thinking tactically, you want to at least have some sort of group together just because of the way that opportunity attacks and, disengaging and that kind of stuff actually works. And especially when you have a creature that you already know they get echoes and have kind of enhanced movement and attack capabilities, they're going to wreck you. And I think we're going to see that now as we get into round 2.
That was the other thing I was going to mention is there's definitely an air of panic in this immediately as soon as this fight broke out. But when you're going up against a single target that is good at melee combat and doesn't have AoE things, this is not the time to scatter. This is the time to clump up. You're not fighting a dragon. You're going to see Chetney, poor Chetney. Well, we'll get into that. He's trying to do his job and he can't. Nothing else really stood out to me. I think Marisha made a good choice trying to do Ray of Frost because I could have slowed Otohan a little bit. Just unfortunately, the dice didn't roll that way. Okay, that brings us to round 2. Fight. Leading off with Otohan, Ashton has some kind of like odd rage feature. It's not quite wild magic. It's some unique homebrew thing, but it forces Otohan to make a con save that she passes because she's a fighter. An echo disappears. And then she attacks Orym with 3 attacks.
3rd strike against you.
It's not bad.
That's going to be 28 to hit.
Yep.
For 12 points of slashing damage.
Out, and as he's going out, he's looking at the sky past her shoulder and thinking of his husband and his father.
Oh, no! Not like that.
She is damaged by Chetney's blood curse from the previous round. And then with her 4th offhand attack, attacks Ashton.
That's going to be 21 to hit.
Yeah, hits. I'm out.
That is 12 points of slashing damage. It's going to go ahead and use the rest of her movement, which was 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. To just start right up towards you, Fern.
Then Orym is up next, who succeeds on his first death save. Ashton, who is also down, fails his first death save. Then Chetney, poor Chetney.
Yeah, double dash. I'm on her tail. All four paws on the ground. Coming dead charge. Which is not far. It's only 50 feet.
Right there.
And I'm growling and howling to try and get her attention if I can. But I know there's not much else that I can do.
Okay.
I hate all of it.
I don't know what to do.
Run.
How will we bring everybody back to life?
Get out.
All right, Jenny's, I finished.
Who
your
said
turn.
anything about bringing people back to life?
Imogen runs through the house with her move and dash action.
With the last of your movement, pull through the window on the opposite end, yes. That's your movement and your action.
That's all I have.
There's a lot of that going around. Okay.
End of the turn, it's going to use legendary action to go ahead and take a strike at Fern. That's going to be 14 points of slashing damage.
I'm out.
Okay. That brings it to Fern's turn. Fern, you should make a death save for me, please.
Right out!
Fern, who goes next, succeeds on her first death save, but then has the wildfire spirit throw a flame seed at Otohan and hits with a 20, so now the group officially knows that Otohan's armor class is 20. Otohan uses a legendary action after that to dash and gets into melee with Chetney. And then we have Laudna next, moves within 60 feet of Ashton and Otohan and uses Quicken Spell to cast Wither and Bloom to both damage Otohan and heal Ashton, who had failed his death save, so this was an excellent decision. And then she uses her action to dash towards FCG. Otohan then uses a legendary action to initiate Thigh-Powered Leap, and then Fresh Cut Grass runs around the house, move and dash action, sees Fern on the ground, and casts Healing Word to get Fern back up over Orem, which I think is an excellent choice because Fern can heal and Orem cannot. So Josh, pretty heavy round, much quicker round than it might have needed to be, but what stands out to you here?
Well, I mean, it's just a dominant first turn from Otohan. It's always a masterclass in running monsters from Mercer. He is very good at it, whether I watch the show or not. I absolutely recognize he's very good at that. Drops 2 of them, and one of them for the second time. That's very significant. Chetney, this is sad because I feel like you're gonna see a lot of this same thing as we go through Chetney's turn, where he's just trying to do the right thing and trying to get there, and just doesn't have the movement to make it happen.
And we talk about it in our movement video. Like, your action is useless if you are not able to use it the way you need to fulfill your role. And this
Absolutely.
it's a sad prime example of it.
Obviously significant to find out what the AC is. 20 is pretty massive, as we were saying before. If a 19 misses, that's a little scary. But at level 7, it's not as scary, but it's still scary. And Laudna, you said it before, but Marisha's turn was excellent. Using Quicken to both damage and heal, and bring someone back after they had failed the death save, like, that's huge. I think if we're just going like turn by turn, I think those are the 2 biggest turns this round as far as just effectiveness and good choices. Laudna and the actual monster.
The main theme here that stands out to me so much is Orem can't go because he's down. Ashton can't go because he's down. Chetney can't do anything because he's too far away. Imogen is busy running through the house because she still thinks everybody's running away. Fern goes down. So now you have 5 out of 7 actions not used. It's good that the other 2 that were used well. Thank you, Marisha and Sam. But this is what stands out to me when we look at round 2.
Yeah, and that's where you get into the bad execution of a half-assed plan, because you have that, like, is this what we're doing? Yes, this is what we're doing. Oh, people are getting hurt. Maybe we shouldn't do that. But then some of them are like, I'm still doing this, and I understand, but
Yes.
you gotta.
Well, the thing is
stick to it.
If you're making the decision to scatter, the thinking is she can only get one of us. But then they feel bad, so they try to pick them up. It's just like, well, are we letting someone die or not? Like, what's the thinking here?
Yeah.
Right? Why else are you scattering? You're scattering
Absolutely.
because you've decided she's going to kill one of us. Sorry, whoever that is, that sucks for you. But that's what panic does.
Absolutely. Hindsight, natural 20.
Which brings us to round 3, fight. Opening up with Otohan, that psi-powered leap comes into play, and she jumps 80 feet towards Laudna. Chetney hits her with an opportunity attack. She manifests some echoes, and then she attacks Laudna.
Can't run from this, my dear. And he's going to go ahead and rush into a flurry of strikes on you. 10 points of psychic damage.
I don't have my blood
She
cursor
can't
anymore.
even see how many points she has right now.
You are panicking.
Travis correctly mentions that he can't chase her all around the map. Taliesin incorrectly says scattering and running was a good plan.
We said scatter and nobody could. She just took us down before we could scatter.
Well, we could scatter, but 3 of us would die.
Yeah.
Ground
It was
advantage.
a good plan.
That's going to be a 25 to hit.
The echoes shift all around. Matt uses the villain to quote unquote taunt the players, but actually is also telling them that they are making a mistake because he is only owning them because they scattered.
You're missing the party. Run all you want. You're just running and leaving them to die.
Orem fails a death save. Then Ashton rages again and attacks an echo, which he actually crits, which does some kind of cool thing for FCG. But his weird rage thing, which is, to quote Travis, a super complicated build, lets him teleport and run away. Then Otohan spends a legendary action to dash, heading towards FCG. Chetney then finally gets to engage with Otohan and attacks her.
Yeah, I'll go meet her.
Chetney, what are you doing?
I don't want to be the only one not dead.
Which I respect.
Love
Chetney
that.
knows his role, and that is to deal damage and try to grab aggro. And this is also actually the first time that Matt mentions to the group that they can see a little bit of wear and tear, but no one seems to notice.
17 on the
70 points of damage. Starting to see a little wear and tear.
Nice. The second one was a miss, and with the bloated agony, nothing happens yet.
And I don't even believe she's been hit that often at this point, so I don't even think you're dealing with a mountain of hit points. But I do believe that this is Matt doing his best to indicate that they actually can still win this fight. A sentiment I agree with. Otohan then uses her legendary action to attack Chetney, but misses. Imogen does some kind of telepathy to Laudna, which totally metagaming, but she learns that Laudna went down. She uses her action to cast Fly. The storm that was kind of in the middle, that reskinned Hunger of Hadar, drops because of her concentration, and then she does like a telepathy taunt of Otohan. Total role-playing here. Then Otohan uses a legendary action to attack Chetney and hits this time, but he does resist going prone. Fern gets up from being prone, uses her Wildfire Spirit to cast Cure Wounds on Orem. Then Taliesin actually directly asks if she's even looking rough at this point.
She's not even looking a little rough, is she?
She's looking a little haggard. She's taking some hits.
So I will do that.
I spent a lot of this running away, so. I mean, in a rough opening round for you.
You can tell that Matt feels bad and commiserates with them a little bit. Mister then attacks Otohan and misses. Laudna, who had failed 2 death saves.
All right, Laudna, could you roll death save for me, please?
Yeah.
Delilah, take the wheel. Natural 20 is a natural 20.
It's a natural 20.
Is it really?
Everyone is conscious again. Laudna then casts Eldritch Blast on an echo and destroys it. FCG, Sam is starting to vocalize the tactical mindset there.
Our work is done here. We got to get out of here, right? We're all up. We run. But Chetney's still there. He's going to be okay. You're going to be okay?
That's code for Travis wants a new character.
I'm about to see what this insides look like.
FCG misses a Sacred Flame on an echo and then runs away. This is a jam-packed round, but a very different round from round 2, Josh. What stands out to you here?
This is very different. And it's interesting because I think this is where it gets even more chaotic, where you really have that difference between some of these people are like, yeah, we're going to fight. Like Chutney is fighting. That's what he's doing. He doesn't want to be the only one to not die. I love that line.
Love it.
You have Ashton still just trying to run away. Fresh Cut Grass is kind of confused at this point, doesn't really know what to do. And Laura finally entering the combat, but choosing to use her action to fly instead of anything that may or may not have been combat effective.
To be fair, it does get her at least back into sight range because of the speed boost, but that is still 3 actions that your party sorcerer has not used to make progress in this fight. It's big.
Yeah, very big. As a player, you need to be listening to these cues from your DM. It's so significant that there's 3 separate times in this one round where he tries to give them hints and he's trying to help them. I mean, that's my take on it. That's your take on it too, if you just said it.
That's his rhythm he's established for 3 campaigns, almost 8 years at this point. They're looking a little rough means, you know what? You're starting to make some progress on this.
And you're exactly right. They haven't landed that many attacks. Maybe 5 or 6, but maybe we'll count it and put the number on the screen. I don't know, like the actual number, but not that many attacks actually landed so far. And she's already looking, a little rough. One of the biggest things here is Labna making the ultimate tactical decision to roll a natural 20.
Yes, always a good choice.
The best choice you could make, really. That's great. That's huge. Like you said, everyone's back on the board again. Just from a perspective of like, what are the big moments? Say those are pretty big moments. Otohan is going to have a big turn every time, but it's good to see people actually making the decision to join the battle. Where it really goes wrong, I think, is that you also have people ignoring that and just try now I'm running away.
The fact that not everybody's on the same page is a huge factor.
Absolutely.
And that takes us to a very different round 4. Fight. Otohan leads off round 4 by telling the group that she will start killing instead of just knocking them out.
Otohan here, like thrashing, stops for a second, looks at Imogen, and like the rest. Your friends are extremely obnoxiously resilient.
Yeah.
Perhaps I've been going about this the wrong way. I should be more complete with my job.
She attacks Chetney and hits twice, 1 crit, and then swaps places with an Echo, uses her action surge to attack Orym.
3rd strike. What a crit. Orym, please describe to me in your final moment as Orym looks up, barely holding his vision forward, and Otohan pulls the blade up and is about to press it down into his sternum.
There's a really heavy sense of failure. But at the same time, I know I'm gonna see Will and Derek again.
She stops for a second. We've met before.
Yeah.
Orym is now dead, so he doesn't go anymore. Ashton, who is 80 feet away, moves 15 feet closer to do something with his rage for a ranged attack.
Noticing something, and she ducks low right as the portal opens and the hammer swings wide, missing her by an inch.
And I'm booking for the rest of my run.
Okay.
Which is 25
15
feet.
25 feet that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to get out of sight, so.
You got it.
Yeah.
And basically leaves the combat and no longer takes turns. Then Otohan uses a legendary action to dash and gets into melee with Fern. Chetney goes, attacks an Echo and destroys it, chases Otohan, but is small, so can only go 25 feet. Otohan then uses a legendary action to attack Fern and knocks her unconscious. Imogen flies down within 60 feet of Otohan.
Scream, leave my friends alone! But it's gonna echo in her head painfully. Screech, and at level 3, I'm gonna cast Dissonant Whispers.
Okay. All right.
21 points
21
of
points of
psychic
psychic
damage. And the creature must immediately use its reaction, if available, to move as far as its speed allows away from me.
Okay, which she does have. So she then moves
40 feet this way.
Otohan goes all Darth Sidious and says, "Good." Just like that. That's exactly how it went. Then Fern goes, she fails a death save, and then Wildfire Spirit Mister attacks Otohan and misses. Otohan then uses a legendary action to dash back to Fern. Laudna, which, sad to see, but she casts Message.
I'm going to send a message to Otohan.
Okay.
Sorry, I hope this isn't a bad idea. I'm gonna send a message to Otohan.
I mean, we're at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
That's right, message to Otohan to whisper into her ear about where an item that she might be interested is in, and then things get a little weird in terms of like combat mechanics. Matt seems to cast Detect Thoughts on Imogen to try and verify things. There's a little RP there, but that's pretty much all Laudna does. Then Fresh Cut Grass goes, takes the hide action, eventually ends up retconning using a bonus action to something similar to a Bardic Inspiration on Imogen. As much as luck seemed to turn around a little bit in round 3, round 4, it was just like the momentum they had just flipped and went right out the window.
There's some big choices here. As a plus, the pluses are really a lot about the DM. Just telling the group, you keep getting up, you're very resilient, I'm going to start killing you now. It's a good warning, but 2, very avoidable. I think if they had stuck to any option of I'm going to run away, I'm going to stand and fight, I don't think that they really would have had that, yes, you're all going to get killed now, I'm going to stop knocking you out. But because it's the, like, I'm half in, I'm half out, I'm dead, I'm not dead, and I'm starting to fight you, like, I think that contributes a lot to the reason they're dying. That being said, Orym getting killed is massive. That's a fun scene, too.
I don't even think Matt was tempted to use the action surge until the 4th round of combat. Sorry, Orym.
Like I said before about Ashton, like, it's the group's decision, we're going to run away. Cool, good, you're sticking to it. But once you see that that's not what's happening anymore, it's weird for me that the decision of the tank is to run. And even the ranged melee attack thing.
He's got weird rage stuff. I don't even,
I have no idea what that was. But I don't follow it enough to know really the details. But
I've been trying to, and I still don't know how it works.
Initially, I was like, all right, he's trying to contribute, but now I'm thinking he didn't want to lose his rage.
He's just not reading the room here. That's really the main flaw.
Definitely. The tragedy of Chetney continues, right? Where he only has 25-foot movement. I mean, he attacks an Echo and destroys it. She could kind of swap places with those. She could also attack from those. It's significant to take those off the board. Dissonant Whispers.
Yeah. What do you think about that one?
It's kind of, I think the 2 of us were kind of on different perspectives on here. I think you're right, where it probably did save Fern's life.
It has to be what Laura was thinking.
Yes, definitely. I'm thinking of this from like a team perspective and a like, how am I using my action to maximize your action too in your turn? So if you're going to use Dissonant Whispers, which is not a bad idea and it worked, instead of just like going down so you're kind of like right near where Chutney was, move a little bit so that the direction that Ohana has to run away, or Otohan, whatever, has to run away, so that they're running past your melee fighters. They're kind of like running into range, because then you have, maybe there's some opportunity attacks or anything like that. Just trying to give your fighters a fighting chance to do their job. It's hard to think about that on the fly, but
it is. I remember way back when we were doing Friday night fights, you rolled up a barbarian versus my bard, and I remember I got you with the Dissonant Whispers. I was like, cool, now he runs away, and then on your next turn you just ran right back, and I went, was that as good a plan as I thought it would be? Like, there was a point where I was like, I don't know if that's the thing. And at this point, Fern is down. She just saw Orym die, and clearly Otohan is now finishing the jobs that she starts. So it did actually burn a legendary action to dash back to Fern. So I think that was the real value, plus the damage, which if they were paying attention, because we're actually going to still get questions about if she's even looking rough later on in this fight. Every point of damage you can deal, especially, saving throw damage on a high AC target, is valuable. That's one path to doing it, and she does it. We're going to get to Laudna in a second, because this was heartbreaking to me, but FCG taking the hide action, that might look like a wasted action, but at this point, it's the first time that Sam goes after Orym, or Liam's character has died. So him taking the hide action actually is protecting Orym at this point. He has to survive. If he doesn't, anybody that dies is done. Josh Laudna. This was rough. This was hard to watch, because she's a warlock, sorcerer, multi-class character, but anytime your dungeon master says that the target is looking rough, every damage dealing class in the game, your ears need to go, come again? Because, okay, this is where I come in.
This is DPS time. This is what you were made for. This takes us back to the beginning, where these players in this game, like, their goal is not this tactical. That being said, our goals are tactical combat for this conversation.
That's all we're talking about. We're not judging it. And actually, from the tactical standpoint, she took a swing. She missed, but she took a big swing here, because she may have thought, if I try this, it might end the fight, and people are dying.
It's not nothing.
It's not nothing, but
I would have Eldritch Blasted.
You got Eldritch Blasted.
used something similar,
Yes.
damage dealing. The key is the communication from the DM of they're starting to look rough. Oh yeah, they're not dead, but they're definitely feeling it. Like that's we're making a difference. Let's do this.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we have round 5. Fight. Otohan attacks Fern.
Just looks back up to Imogen. You're so close.
What does that mean?
That's going to be
So close.
a crit. You failed 2 death saves.
You're out.
I'm out.
Fern, in the final moments,
Oh my
consciousness and life on this realm, as the blade rests above you, what do you do? What do you say?
Boy, that was a hell of a run.
As the blade goes into your abdomen, and then with a spray, an arc of red that seems to almost turn to black as it hits the dust, and then scatters off of the wind. Fern Calloway is no more.
Then she moves to attack Chetney with the rest of her attacks. She drops Chetney and then hits him to make him fail 2 death saves. Then Otohan taunts Imogen and plays on whatever extra thing is going on with her because there's some kind of game-specific mechanics going on, and the concept of giving in starts to emerge here. Orem is dead. Ashton doesn't go because he ran away. Chetney succeeds on his first death saving throw, and then Imogen goes.
I'm gonna witch bolt at 3rd level.
Okay.
21 points.
21 points.
Lightning damage. I'm gonna glance over at FCG. And you're just gonna hear, you have to save them.
I know.
Ballsy move when you consider that the AC is a 20. She was inspired, though. She does succeed on whatever weird wisdom saving throw Matt makes her do to give in, and then Matt once again indicates that Otohan is looking hurt.
She's starting to show some hurt, like she's looking a little ragged after that last hit.
Yeah?
Fern is dead. Laudna goes and casts Wither and Bloom to damage Otohan and heal Chetney. Great move, damage and heal all in one turn. She does her Form of Dread again to get some temporary hit points. Otohan uses a legendary action to dash. Chetney misses with his opportunity attack to grapple. Then Sam goes with FCG.
I mean, yeah, I can come out of hiding and attack her, but it's not going to be enough to kill her, right? I mean, she's not even looking rough, is she?
She's looking
It says she's looking rough, but we don't know.
a little haggard, I think was the description.
Percentage.
Not rough, a little haggard.
Where?
She's starting to look rough-ish.
Ooh, that ish is
Otohan then uses a legendary action to dash next to Laudna. So Josh, these rounds are getting a little quicker to go through now at this point, aren't they?
It tends to happen when people are dead or have run away.
Sad but true.
I think the biggest takeaway from this round is another great turn from Laudna. Marisha is really, for the most part, is kind of killing it in this fight. There was last turn, obviously, kind of questionable on the message thing, but there might be some kind of extra reasons why that would have made sense. But Wither and Bloom, that's the real MVP, man. Twice she brought someone back from being unconscious while also damaging Otohan in one move, which is just so significant.
Especially when you consider that Matt is now indicating once again that Otohan is looking hurt. How many times does he have to do it?
Viewers, if you've ever got in your own head about something, these guys are the closest to professionals as we have for this game. So the professionals do it too, because he's said it multiple times. He's said it in this round. And Sam says, she's not even looking rough, is she? Like, yeah, no, she is. He's said it a bunch of times already.
I'm not fully caught up on campaign 3. I'm getting there, but Sam usually does make excellent decisions, and he usually has something cool and creative to pull out. Like, he's that guy at the table. So when he says it, I think it's hugely indicative of what's going on.
Well, he's really in a rough spot because he listened, he ran, and then he got himself into a position where it would kind of be foolish for him to re-enter the combat.
Yes. His resources in particular were particularly depleted.
The ones that he does have, that revivify, it is more important to have him hiding and to come back and use that, if he has an opportunity to. So I think it makes sense for him to be doing what he's doing. Laura, that turn is what it is.
It's RP.
It's RP.
And it's hard for us to analyze tactics of mechanics we don't understand. So whatever this giving in thing is, it is what it is, but things aren't going well. Maybe giving in looks like a pretty decent option.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big thing for me that I get stuck on, and I guess it's still considered tactics at this point. If you know or you have reasonable expectation that if you give in, whatever that means, your friends are going to be saved, and that's now what's most important for you because you've kind of ignored their sacrifice of telling you to go so that you could live on and they'll do whatever happens to them. You already have kind of been like, who cares? I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to stay here, and kind of thrown away their sacrifice. In my opinion, that's kind of harsh. So at that point, if giving in, whatever that means, saves them, do it sooner rather than later. You know?
Yeah.
But again, we don't really understand what that is and what that means for her and her character and that, so it's hard to really go into that.
And that brings us to the final round. Fight! Otohan, who is now next to Laudna, attacks Laudna.
Okay, I'm down again.
You watch as she strikes once, the second time, and Laudna falls back. While Laudna's still falling in the air. Third strike. Well, this is not a crit, so you take 2 failed death saves. As she's falling back in the air from that second strike, she immediately takes the second blade and jams it up through her back, which pierces out of the sternum. And while holding her still aloft, kind of a reverse Sephiroth situation, Laudna held in the air, just looks over at you. It's your turn.
Orym is dead. Ashton has run away. Chetney, for some reason, is skipped. And now we come to
Imogen. What are you doing? My call is screaming to you. Do you continue to resist?
I'll go with you.
Just holds her there. Let go and give in to your nature. Pulls the blade from Laudna, her body falls to the ground with a dark spatter across the rock. Throws the blade up, catches it.
I'm gonna close my eyes, open them, and scream dissonant whispers out in her head again. At second level.
Okay. That is going to be a failure. That is 12. She's going to use her last legendary resistance to resist it.
So she only takes 5 psychic
5
points.
points of psychic damage. Okay.
It's 6 rounds later, after burning 2 of them before the first round is even done.
Make a wisdom saving throw for me. Jin.
Don't resist. I can feel your anger growing in you.
Natural 1.
As that burning storm within you becomes...
I rolled a fucking ruinous dice for it.
That's awesome. As it burns up from within, you feel like a tidal surge pulling you under, like the dark abyss of the ocean swallowing you up. But it's nothing but red, warm, crackling fury. And as it does, the entire landscape around you just turns red. The dust storm, the wind, freezes. The sand just kind of frozen in the air. Those of you who are still here notice as the coloration of this entire region of the city turns a deep, deep red. Otohan looks back at you. Yes. Yes. This is it. The rest of you looking at Imogen. Her hair fully extended and levitating. Her skin a deep crimson hue. Where you saw the thin bolts that had stretched at parts of her are now light and glowing and now encompass whole facets of her body. As she stands there lifting, the very space around her shakes and adjusts. And as you scream one more time uncontrollably, all that pain, all that fury, all that vengeance within, as you unleash it, you watch as all the buildings tear away, the bricks crackling around like a whirlwind. The rest of you are pulled throughout, and with one final scream, white. That's where we're in tonight's episode.
What? What does that mean?
Josh, this one's a quickie.
Yeah, there's not a lot to talk about here. I mean, it's almost for the best that Chetney's turn was skipped because that kind of would have dragged this on, I think. And
Might
he
have been
just
why
would
he
have
did
been
it.
killed again in a more brutal way.
Yeah.
Loudna, that whole thing was very brutal the way it was described. I actually didn't realize that she still had a save left initially. Again, I don't understand what the giving in thing was, but even at this point, 6 rounds later, to still try to be like, maybe Dissonant Whispers will work. It's just a weird decision for me. If I was trying to save my friends, I would have given in long ago.
Only she could speak to, and maybe she did. I don't watch their extracurricular shows, but maybe she could speak to why she didn't give in, or probably it has to just be RP at this point, I think. And that is what it is. Like we said in the top of the episode, we realize there are more things that go into making a good decision when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, and particularly in combat, than just pure tactics. But that's what we're analyzing here. So yeah, there really isn't anything particularly here in round 6 to analyze. I mean, what happens.
No fault to Loudna, you know.
No. Like, man, Marisha, you really should have not died. Why didn't you try that? you did pretty good this whole fight, but apparently you just threw in the towel. No. Final thoughts on this. I think the biggest takeaways here, because that's what I want the series to be about, is what can we take away from this? I think a bad plan, if everybody at least is on board with it, is better than a decent plan where everyone literally is just not doing the thing that they're supposed to do. And that is very much on display here. Got to pay attention to what this enemy is doing. This enemy is capable of wreck is a wrecking ball and huge movement, but only one at a time. You have to clump up. You're not fighting a dragon. You're not fighting an AoE style character. If they would have just ganged up on her, I mean, how many times did Chetney have to run or not be able to use his extra attack?
Almost every time.
Almost every time. Especially in this kind of a thing too. I mean, a sorcerer, one of the things that they're supposed to be thinking about is battlefield control. And that's particularly needed when you're fighting a combatant that can just run all over the battlefield. You got to stop. You got to limit that. Burn tried with hold person, burned a legendary resistance, so the door was wide open for opportunity there.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. I mean, if I'm narrowing this down to like 3 takeaways, I'd say right in the beginning, ask your dungeon master for things. That rage, talk about it. At least have that conversation. That would have made a big difference. Not that it's any fault to anyone for not doing that. It's just something that I think people don't think that they can do, and it's just something that you should be aware of. Try it. I completely agree with what you said. You know, even if it's a bad plan, create your plan and stick to it. And as a second half of that, if the plan is changing, make that decision as a group. You can't have half the people still running away, half the people fighting and then running away, and then, 1 or 2 people, I'm just fighting. You're going to get the exact results that you got. And my last takeaway would just be listen to your DM. He gave them a lot of hints. The one was a little harder to pick up on, that it was like, well, the reason that she's doing so well is because you scattered, but she's hurting. None of them picked up on that. None of them realized that they were actually doing damage to this character.
I think they could have beat her. I really do.
So too.
I don't think this whole give-in thing would have had to happen. I think they could have beaten this character and moved on.
If there's a takeaway for just this video in general, if you enjoyed what we did here, well, we have some specific videos for the action economy and for movement, and those are going to be up on the screen. You should check those out. We really get into detail about how to just make the most out of your turn, and it'll make you be a better player, honestly. And if this series in general interested you, let us know other games that you want us to break apart and talk about. There's tons of stuff out there. We couldn't possibly watch all of it, but obviously you're interested in this. So let us know. We'll watch the episode. We'll break it down and give our opinion.
Adios.
Thank you for watching. We will see you on the next time. Fight.
Don't forget to subscribe.